Ministers K. Shanmugam and Tan Sri Ling brought a defamation suit against Bloomberg. What the judge found out was that any reasonable person reading that story would... Some of the emails, right? Oh, ayo.
Come, let's hear them.
Okay, I read the comments for our last episode.
No, I have not.
Clowns, be serious about your show. User Owububu says, is this in India? Aside from the two of you, the other 20 more people are all Indian. And then David Wang 1374 says, very narrow-minded two people. Sad for them. I don't think we're being very popular. Yeah?
Quite unpopular, actually.
Should we start saying more popular stuff? Nah. Hi everyone and welcome to a very special episode of Singapore Confidential. We're back out into the world again,
Yes.
the public again.
Yes.
A lot of things have been happening in the world of politics in Singapore. We had Parliament last week. Pray tell us what has happened.
So many parts. We've got your famous David Neo, whose comments are circulating Singapore by now already. You've got Maju, you've got IRAS, you've got AI. And yes, we've also got Shanmugam and Tan Sri Ling with the conclusion of their defamation suit
Against Bloomberg.
against Bloomberg. That's
Okay,
right.
alright. Let's get into it.
Okay,
Okay.
I can do it.
So, let me...
Yeah.
how is your golden pisang, by the way?
Lovely, delicious. It could be more sweet, but you know, it's healthy goreng pisang. Yeah.
Healthy golden pisang, golden and delicious. Okay, so first things first, Minister David Neo, Acting
Yes.
Minister David Neo.
That's
he made a joke in Parliament that was really not well taken by a lot of people.
Well, I'd say it depends. If you don't like him, then you don't take it well.
Okay.
If you like him, it's funny. If you're neutral, it's okay. And then what next? Yeah. It needs no explanation. So he said to a question by the opposition member who asked him what he thought about the show. He said,
No,
first
he
of
didn't say
all,
what he thought. He said, I think the opposition MP Kenneth Tiong said, which version did you watch it in, right? The Mandarin version or the Teochew version?
yeah.
And then-
to which he replied, the famous words,
部长没有时间看电影.
yeah, minister got no time to watch movie.
Which honestly, okay. What do you think of that? What do you think of the issue?
I think the nation of Singapore has spent too much brain capacity analyzing these few words of which there's nothing to analyze. It was something said, it was said, that's it. It has no meaning whatsoever.
Well, no, I mean, I don't say there's no meaning, but it was a quip, like most people, you know. Humor is part and parcel of being human, for that matter, you know. The thing is, I feel that, taken on its own, right, it is a nothing quip. It is a little bit funny because, you know, it generally, I think no one can argue that ministers lead pretty damn busy lives, you know, especially if you have two portfolios in the way that he does right now. He's got two different portfolios, you know. You've got a lot of things to synthesize and go to Parliament, go for meetings, discuss, you know, and then you also have your MP day job, right? It's not uncommon to... I don't think it is a contentious thing to say that, yeah, ministers don't really have time. The problem I feel is that it's become a Rorschach test. Everyone sees what they want to see in it. So if you're angry about the dialect issue, or if you're mildly miffed about the dialect issue, you can say, oh, this guy, you know, doesn't care about dialect and doesn't show enough respect for dialect. If you're a filmmaker, and God knows things have been very tough for filmmakers with AI and with the collapse of the cinema business as well, then you say, oh, this guy doesn't care about the industry. If you're a creative person or artist or whatever, and you basically, everyone knows that art is a terrible living. Okay, the money is crap in it. There's no money in it, and then you're going to say, oh, these guys don't care about, he doesn't care about art, and he's making fun of it. He wasn't making fun of any of these people. Let's be perfectly honest, he was just making fun of his own lifestyle in the sense that he doesn't have time to go and watch that. And we don't have much to talk about in Singapore. Maybe that's why we talk about all these things.
Yeah, and you know, Parliament is Parliament. Parliament is antagonistic. Look at the British Parliament. I think you get a very ringside view of what antagonism really means.
God forfend that we ever become like the British Parliament.
Little snipes here and there. It happens, but again, it's overanalyzed. The point is, it's actually quite reconciliatory. This whole event, both sides of the aisle, politicians are actually for the show, for the culture. Tickets have been increased, seats have been increased. And they're bringing their constituents to go watch the movie. Case closed. It's something that both sides want and agree on.
Yeah, so basically we should, I think, you know, we talk about the Rorschach test and how everyone projects their own insecurities and worries and anger and concerns at this quip. Latest development is that he's put up a Facebook post that showed that he actually went with some of his residents to watch the show. So if I were him, I'd say something like, oh, finally found the time. That's just to throttle them back. Because the only way to combat people who are humorless is with more humor. Just give them more humor. It doesn't matter, There's one more Rorschach test I feel that's happening here.
Okay.
Anyone who hated their time in NS, and I'm pretty sure there are many of them, because NS is a time where it's an intense time. You got to get people training up to scratch kind of thing. You're going to get yelled at all the time. Did you not get yelled at in
all the time?
All the time.
Yeah.
We got yelled at. It's basically everyone who's ever been yelled at by an RSM, a general or someone, right? They're just going to project that kind of anger on
Yeah, you the one.
Yeah, you.
You scold me. Now I'm going to laugh at you back. Aha, you got no time.
So, I would say that, the only way to combat this is more humor.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's have more fun.
You know what
Because-
else ministers don't have time for?
What? Humor.
Making podcasts at Geylang Serai.
Making podcasts at KLI. And I fear that we are also becoming part of the problem by over-analyzing this and over-discussing it. So let's move on, shall we?
Let's move on.
What's next?
Have you heard that a forest is going to be cleared to make way?
No.
Forest is going to be cleared.
Two forests.
Two forests. Maju forest.
And Gilman Barracks.
And well, Gilman Barracks is not a forest. It's a barracks.
Oh, don't let any of your eco warriors hear you say that.
Okay.
But yes. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, okay, so my take is we should not. We should look for new means of economic growth or for housing our people. Now, it is going to take another whole new podcast to talk about how are we going to house people when we have land shortage and the demand is high. But hey, we're actively chasing babies and growth and immigration. So surely we must have these things thought about, right?
Yes, and part of that thought is Maju Forest and Gilman Barracks.
Oh, but that is the parameter. So the parameter is that we can't be clearing land all this time. One fine day, we're going to be running out of land to clear. And I read this amazing comparison yesterday. The Istana is 40 hectares. Maju Camp is 23 hectares. Which can house more houses. Both have equal value to the nation.
Well, I'll say this, right? Then what will happen is that you'll develop this great battle royale between your nature lovers and your heritage lovers. Because there are trade-offs here. Istana is heritage. The nature is nature. So what's going to happen? So you will have, the picketers are saying save Maju Forest, and the people who are saying save the Istana. And then you're going to have to put the housing one on one or the other side, right?
Yeah, well, then let them fight.
Well, okay.
No, but no. So the point is something has got to give, and this may be a bit of an extreme, but it may turn out that actually the way forward is not to use up land in Singapore anymore, but to move Singaporeans out. So satellite cities are actually a discussion. It's a thing. There are great thoughts about this. There's this book called Singapore 2035 or something like that.
Okay.
Where the great brains of Singapore has actually said that there will come a time where there's just not enough land to cultivate in Singapore.
Okay.
And we have to have satellite Singapores.
Okay.
And I think there's a very modern term for what they used to call colonialism.
Colonialism.
Colonialism. That may be a way to think about it. Can we incentivize families and businesses to shift their operations outside of Singapore, and for those to become like mini Singapores, enjoying the same standard of life and economic welfare as they do as if they were living here? And that may be another way to grow Singapore without actually developing our land. And then you have you have these forests that can last for a while. Something worth thinking about.
I've done the math on this, right? I'll give a sudden thought of where we are. There are about 450,000 Singaporeans between the ages of 25 and 34. And I said 25, 34 because once you're 35, you're single, you're going to buy your own. You get your two-room flat. Okay, but generally these are the prime sort of home seekers, the one that have their first flat. Over the next 10 years, there will be an additional 240,000 people who will be turning 25 and older. Okay, so we're looking at something like 680,000 people in general who will need housing. You divide that by two, say they both miraculously we match everyone up and you get half of the population. That still means we've got the demand for about 340,000 starter homes. That's a lot of demand. Here's the thing though.
Sure.
Over the next 10, 15 years, I got this one from our national news sources. There's going to be about 80,000 private and public homes built over the next 10, 15 years. I suspect that's a bit low because from now until 2027, HDB is already building about 55,000 flats. Okay? So I would think that about 100,000 new homes built over the next 10, 15 years, possible. We still like 200,000 homes. We're not building to that level. I mean, it's all a trade-off. I feel for the nature people, but here's the thing though. I spent the last weekend, because I have this kind of time on my hands, reading the environmental reports for both Maju Forest and Gilman Barracks. Okay, they got is what I think one is about 120 page, the other one is about 70 pages. Okay, I think all in all is about 200 pages, right? I spent time reading it all for you, for our dear listeners. Okay, and I can tell you they're very extensive. They went in, they got a company called Arconon or something. I've got to check that out. And they went in and they checked flora, fauna, the water, air, noise pollution, all of it. It was very, very extensive. And the workaround that they gave, I think, was that they would, for Gilman Barracks, they would have, there's like a sort of like a T-shape, so that they preserve most of the, what they call the ecologically most valuable parts of the forest, okay? So it's like a T-shape and then it joins to Teluk Blangah Hill Park, so that there's a space for the fauna, for the birds and the animals to be able to move to a bigger space. For Maju Forest, they've tried very hard. They've actually saved something like a third, if I'm not wrong, like one half to 3/4 of the, what they call native bound secondary forest, which means that it's old growth forest that has more native plants in it, right? So they've saved quite a bit of that. That's something I don't think people notice or understand, because I think once you put everything into a headline and once you put everything into a petition, people go mad. They don't really look at, like, no one has time. Who's got time to read 200 pages of environmental report? But they're just basically voting based on the headline. In that sense, I think it's one of those tough things where I love nature. I do hikes all the time. I think we need more nature around us, but we also need to find place for our people to stay. So I don't know what the trade-off is. And I think, if anything, we've always sort of talked about compromise, right? There's been a very good faith compromise being struck here by the authorities and in tandem with the Nature Society, having made this very, very extensive sort of environmental report. I would recommend people go and read it, because they don't realize how much work actually went into that. The problem with a compromise is that no one's ever going to get what they want. They're going to get half of what they want.
Yeah.
And then now that it's been put into a petition, and then you've got all these, alternative media sites like Online Citizen all blasting and trying to make as much political hay out of it, as much anger, drive as much anger as possible, then the conversation is no longer rational. And it's no longer in good faith. We were talking about this, right? I said maybe the way that the MND should have done is they should have run the meeting like Trump will run the meeting. They go in and and tell the Nature Society, we will get rid of everything. It's like tariffs of 20%, and scare the shit out of them. And then they're like, and after a week,
they shut down all the forests.
And turn all
the forests. No more. Tekong, everything. Nothing.
And scared the bejesus out of NGOs. And then after a week saying, we keep half. Which is what they want to do.
20%.
Yeah, which is what you would want to do anyway. And then people will go away thinking that, oh man,
they won.
We won.
The shock value.
But that would work. That is the Trump world. We don't work like that in Singapore. It's good faith to come to you and say, this is what we think. This is what the environmental assessment said. And these guys, look at the consultants that were chosen, right? These guys have a reputation to protect. They're not going to tell you what you want to hear just because it's their consultants. All right. So
to that, may I quote one of the greatest orators I've ever heard, Agent Smith from The Matrix. The problem with you humans, you behave like another organism on this planet. You're like a cancer. You just consume and consume and consume until their whole body dies. So
can you say it like Agent Smith?
No, I can't. Sorry, I can't even.
Humanity is like a cancer.
No, okay.
You grow and you go like a virus. I don't know.
No, I can't do it. I won't even pretend. But yeah. So my take is, let's work with what we already have here,
okay,
and start thinking about decentralizing growth. Satellite Singapores, have our colonies outside of Singapore.
Well, I mean, if you look at the number of of people who live in JB and then come into Singapore. The Singaporeans who live in JB, they rent their HDB here and then they can live at a.
But that's the thing. That's actually a great idea. And actually, if Singaporeans were to invest in themselves a little bit more in JB, it could be a pretty fun idea. You
What do you
know,
mean by invest in yourself?
invest it in our own township there. And I'm not sure what we were saying is actually.
Oh my God!
Good for a
No.
podcast. But if we can have our own security companies, you know, our own schools, our own ecosystem down there, I think our friends in JB are not going to like this very much. But hey, it's an
You think
idea.
politically, it's going to be easy to say we're going to create a Singapore colony in JB.
That's why you don't say it, you just go.
Okay, all it is thank God we're podcasters and we have no,
Yeah,
we have no,
exactly.
we have none of our hands on the levers of power in Singapore, or Malaysia for that matter. All right, moving on.
Okay.
You have honed in very directly on that. IRAS recently issued detailed guidance specifically addressing the tax treatment of Siam Tiu. Hoa Tiao, Tiao Hoa.
There may be some people in our audience that has never heard of such a thing before.
okay,
And
let
to
us-
these I say, very good for you, very good for your young innocent minds. What a flower joint is,
Yes.
it's basically a KTV.
Okay.
Okay, with a stage up in front, you've got your
Yes.
live bands and
Yes.
all that, and
Tell me more. I don't know what this is.
and my friend tells me that what happens is that these girls would go up, stand on the stage, and then you would. It is a little bit demeaning. You kind of like bid on them.
Okay.
You give tips, and then tips will range from anything from $10 to $10,000 to even $100,000. And each
I would like to do that job. Can I do that job?
you stand up there, they'll probably pay you to get lost. so each for each milestone that you pay, they'll hang this sash on the lady, and it's well known the lady has no obligation to do anything with you except to come to your table and drink your alcohol.
Okay.
And say thank you very much and okay bye. It's very bizarre if you ask me. I mean, like we know the male gaze and the male instincts for certain requests.
Yes.
Yes. If you had $100,000 or $50,000 or $30,000, you might as well have another source of pleasure rather than hang this on a girl and get nothing back. I don't understand.
Okay. I think we got to get back to
Let's
the
get back
point
to the
at
point.
hand,
The
okay.
point
Yes.
is that from the KTVs will say this money that's being transacted is a tip for the girl.
Okay.
A tip. A $50,000 tip. No. The IRAS is now saying, come on, we're not idiots. That is not a tip. That is an income, and they're actually going to impose GST from it.
Oh,
yeah.
snap.
So this is going to be GST deductible. Because it's GST deductible, we are going to know what you're doing. So this is not going to be a hidden source of money laundering as well.
That's true. Okay.
I mean, come on. I really doubt it. I'm not in the industry, but I really don't think that if you put $50,000, $100,000 on a girl, all the money is going to the girl. I highly doubt it.
I mean, God forbid, surely these are fine, upstanding businesses that would never, ever
Yes.
think
you
of,
poor innocent.
of income tax evasion, right?
I like how pure your mind is. But no, and men, guys, if you have this kind of money, please go spend it on your mother. I mean, this is the silliest way to...
Whoa. Before I say anything, right?
Okay.
Spend it treating your mother to maybe a new car or bring her on a cruise or what. Not to ask your mother to stand there and sing and then you tell her, please, just in general, don't do this.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean.
But that being said, right?
Yeah.
Who am I to yuck someone's yum? If that's the way people want to spend their money, that's it. But
Yeah,
if
alright.
it's money laundering, then we're gonna get you lah. I would also rather the.
Or
the
what
government's
you
gonna get
can do is to make a donation to Maju
Okay.
Presents, hang some flowers on us. Orchids will be, I'll take orchids.
I think we have a Patreon somewhere. We might have a Patreon somewhere, but that's a copy lah.
Yeah. $5 can you don't need
不用钓花，我只要钓鱼而已。
钓鱼. So that's what's
So that's-
happening
okay.
with the tax.
Oh my God! All right, next up, the big news, basically. Right, and that is most recently. This was the judgment only came out yesterday. Ministers K. Shanmugam and Tan Swie Ling brought a defamation suit against Bloomberg for their reporting of basically that a story that essentially alluded to the fact that the ministers' home purchases and home sales of the GCBs were linked to money laundering. Okay, they didn't say it in as many words, but what the judge basically found out was that any reasonable person reading that story would link the two of them together. So the ministers won the case, and they won damages of $230,000. I don't know if it's each or not. I think
Each,
it'll be each, right? Each.
It came up to about $500,000.
Yikes! So I mean, Bloomberg is of
Better
course,
than the total Group 1 prize.
No, the total ground price was $6 million, my friend.
Yeah, both together is. Oh yeah, right. Sorry. No,
Hey,
you got it
your
on my mind.
your math is off, man.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
so don't bring someone for defamation. Go play Toto. You get more money.
But you're a lawyer, right? So maybe you want to just give us a sort of rundown of what you got. So I've read the 71-page judgment. I didn't catch most of it because I'm dumb that way. But you're a lawyer, and tell me what you think about this whole case.
Defamation is a very fun thing.
Yeah. Fun.
It's
depends on which side you're on, lah.
Yeah, it's so when we read tort, defamation is a branch of tort, where there are civil wrongs done between people. It's not an offense you do to the government; it's an offense you do to a fellow civilian.
Okay.
Basically, you're bringing someone to disrepute, and in this case, any ordinary reader of this story would have come to certain conclusions of their own. And if you read all over the internet, if you look at the comments, you'll find people repeating the very same falsehoods that are being challenged in court and have been proven to be false. If you read things like, oh, the buyers have paid for it in cash, that's wrong, that's false, and that is part of defamation. If you've read about how the transaction has been kept secret from the public, and that that there is no public record, that's false also.
Yeah.
You may also have read how the buyers may have paid a premium to enjoy the secrecy. No, that's also false. One might argue also, hey, but Bloomberg did not specifically accuse anybody, or did not spell out that there was corruption or there was money laundering.
Yeah.
Why would it have been defamation? No, and the courts know very well that there's mischief going on in the markets, and defamation can be proven not by words but also by conduct. And there are so many variations of this. All this just goes to the fact that you have to be very careful how you write something, portray something, and you have to be responsible to each other in society. The number one basic principle of tort is that we all have a duty to our fellow neighbors, to our fellow citizens and people around us. So that's it, and it's a very simple case. And one might also need to say that both Shanmugam and Tan See Leng, by bringing this into public domain, they are also opening everything for public scrutiny and also for judicial scrutiny. Why would they do that? If there was truly something to hide.
I mean, they both went on the witness stand.
Yeah. And may I just say this? A lot of people are saying, oh, there's money laundering going on. Come on. If you want to launder money, do you want to put it through a high-profile person such as a minister? You want to do it through somebody who doesn't attract attention? This is screaming for attention.
Because of this article, there are all these whisper campaigns of from all these unknown comments on Facebook, money laundering, right? First, let's think about things. We already said we have unpopular views, right? But we have unpopular views that are based on logic. Okay, let's take logic here. How much did they make? Okay, because we're talking about money laundering means that you cannot tell where your source of money came from. And you're evading tax, right? This is from the Hard Truths by LKY. LKY said in Hard Truths, right, that Min Shanmugam, before he entered politics, in good years he would get $5 million a year salary. Okay, so let's say a bad year, what, 2 mil, 3 mil, which is oh my god,
poor thing, yeah.
So over the course of a 20-year legal career, he's amassed more than that. He's amassed more than enough to buy the house, even at its current price, which he didn't. He's amassed more than enough money. He bought it in 2003.
Sure.
And there've been, I went online, and I don't know how true this is, but they said something like 7.95 mil. Okay, that's the thing. People forget that because of QE, because of the rise of tech, because of a lot of that money that's sloshed into the international markets, right? And earned by a lot of Singaporeans, by the way, who were invested in markets where a lot of assets, right? A lot of these big asset classes have gone up astronomically in price. So 2 questions for me here. One is this: were they trying to hide sources of money? No. They were independently wealthy even before. Min Tan See Leng, in his last year I mean, they talked about him buying I think it's a $27 million GCB, right? In the year before he entered politics, right, his last year of being CEO of a listed company in Malaysia, IHH, he earned 34 million ringgit salary and bonus, whatever, like his whole pay package. That's about $11 million, okay?
Only.
Look, I mean, he doesn't need to money launder. To what end? For what purpose? To destroy his good reputation his entire life? No.
Yeah.
Same thing with Min Chan William. Second thing I want to say is this. A lot of media has done disservice to the way we talk about politics because they know that your headline sells a story. People don't read fast headline. They read the headline and then say, I've formed my view of what I'm going to think of this story without doing their due diligence, right? So I went to take a look. 88 million, it's a massive number. In your head, it just, oh, wow, this guy, 88 million must be something wrong, okay? No, I went to Google and take a look. Near Queen Astrid Park, there is a condominium called Astrid Meadows, very nearby, all right? The average price per square foot of Astrid Meadows, which is pretty old condominium, is 2,300 to 2,600 per square foot. If you look at Min Shanmugam's good class bungalow, after dividing everything, right, he sold it for approximately 2,500 per square foot. It's right in the margin. That's what it's worth. TikTok CEO Shou Chu also bought in Queen Astrid Park another good class bungalow for $86 million around the same time. He paid more per square foot, 2,700. Are we saying he's loving money? Of course not. We don't say that. Come on, that's ridiculous. You can complain about how prices have become elevated. That's fine. That's an argument for another time. But were the prices fair at that market value for what was sold at? Yes. So there's no overpayment. The source of people's income is clear based on whatever I just said. So I think, man, Bloomberg, they wanted to get this story in the press, and then they didn't do their due diligence.
And now there are $500,000 for...
I mean, it's nothing to Bloomberg. You want Bloomberg terminal, how much you're making from one Bloomberg terminal already?
There's this one other thing, that people are talking about on the comment section that drives me nuts.
Yeah.
They say that, this transaction was paid for in cash. I mean, dude, have you seen $1 million in cash? You would not be able to lift it up. You need a...
I volunteer as tribute. I can lift. If I can lift, can I take it with me?
No, yeah. Well, and that's $1 million. How are you going to transact that thing? You can't fit it in a car.
No, but that's the point. One article like this can become the starting gun for all of this whisper campaign. So what are you going to do if you're the victim of a whisper campaign like that? You've got to fight that campaign, right?
That's right.
There's another thing as well, which I think was quite interesting when I read through the entire Dutch document. A lot of the Bloomberg defense was that no, we were not targeting the ministers. We were talking about this in a general story.
Public interest.
And public interest, and they just happened to be a part of it. But there's always discovery in any court case where your lawyers can subpoena the other side and say we want to see your documents, and some of the emails, right?
Come, let's hear them.
Okay, so there's an email in Bloomberg that's from the Bloomberg editorial team to the reporter who wrote the story, saying they've heard that from a source that our favorite minister, Shanmugam, recently sold his GCB at Queen Astrid, probably for an eye-watering sum. So, having been part of a newsroom, it is a kind of, I think...
That's the conduct that I was talking about. By that behavior, you know what's happening.
Apart from the fact that they were already kind of gossiping about about this in the newsroom, there were questions. The question saying, why is it newsy? This happened last year. People know about it. Why are we writing about it now? If a sale happened in October, it will be dated if we write it now, and folks be questioning why we're doing it. Right. So there are already these questions about whether it's newsy. Then there was another email from the reporter saying that, well, one possible way to get into it is to wrap it in a broader story about how rich people are using trust to buy property in Singapore. So it actually feels like it's the opposite of what the defense was saying. The defense was saying, no, this was incidental. Talking about the ministers was incidental to this story.
It's the other way around.
That's the other way around. We want to get these guys, so we're going to write the story, you see. But, as they say, was it in Game of Thrones? If you come at the king, you best not miss.
A lot of movie references we have.
A lot of movie references.
Here's the thing, right? At the end of every year, in November, Bloomberg hosts a new economies forum in Singapore every year. And there's a ministerial.
And don't forget, right? Sorry, don't forget.
Yes.
In the New Economy Forum, Bloomberg New Economy Forum last year, that was when PM Wong spoke. And then we had a whole podcast about that.
That's
okay,
right.
but yes, go ahead.
That's
go ahead.
right. Do you think that they will invite Shogam and Tan Si Ling, to come and speak?
That would be
That was so fun. I pay good money to watch that. The awkwardness and things that should not be said but ought to be asked in the public interest. In the public interest, we must have this segment. So, Bloomberg, if you're listening, I think the audience is demanding for it.
They just might. They just might. It is.
It'll be a sellout. It'll be a sellout.
But I mean, they better send a check first, for this defamation suit. Which, by the way, the proceeds, the two ministers have said it will go to charity.
Good.
Right.
Yeah. So the money is not going to them. They have no need for this money either. It's 250 grand. Yeah, achoo.
I won.
I also won. Yeah.
Okay.
All the stuff we talk about is always very funny. Yeah. We don't agree. We don't agree with the general public.
Yes.
We talk about things based on logic and not based on the emotional feel of the day, the emotional du jour.
Well, at the very least, even if we do get to a final conclusion that is emotionally driven, I have read all the pages of whatever is required before we come to that decision. As we were readying this last episode to come out, we've hopped on another quick Zoom call, Ben, you and I, to have a talk about this. Probably one of the more shocking news revelations in the last, say, 6 months. Yesterday, Associate Professor Muhammad Faisal Ibrahim announced that he was resigning as a political office holder, as Minister for Muslim Affairs, and also as an MP. Immediately because of inappropriate communications that he had with a woman member of the public. Ben, what was your reaction when you first found out?
My reaction was never a dull day. Firstly, I have to echo the sentiments that it might be a bit too much. In other countries, these matters would not have been a political matter altogether. So, but here, this guy, that there was no physical contact, no relationship, nothing whatsoever. It was a series of texts. And based on the reports that we've read, we don't even actually know what sort of texts these are. What sort of text would warrant a resignation? People were saying and assuming it's flirtatious. But what's flirtatious? I mean, I could send you Marcus a text tomorrow morning and say, wink, wink, how are you this morning? That could be.
Well, I mean, the difference is that we are, we're neither of us ministers, nor do either of us have any ambition to be.
Was it even flirtatious? Was it something else? They were saying that both are accusing each other of harassment. Would he probably even be in the right, but was coerced to resign? I think as citizens of a democracy, these are things we ought to know.
So your stance is that basically there's not enough transparency?
Yes.
I have a different view, honestly. I mean, and in order to do this, I actually went back to take a look at a few of the other communications that happened after previous incidents of such extramarital affairs came out between politicians, right? So, of course, the one that's most clear in our minds, almost 3 years to the date, is Tan Chuan Jin and Zheng Lihui. And then the one before that was Michael Palmer. That was, I think, 2014, much, almost 10 years ago. What I've realized, the level of disclosure in both of those communications is about the same as what we have here. During Michael Palmer's issue or the Tan Chuan Jin issue, people were not clamoring to know, where did they meet? How did they meet? What kind of texts were sent in between them? So how much granularity do you really want from the disclosure before it becomes gossip and not transparency? At any point in time, I think people can say, no, I want more. I want to know more. I want to know exactly what he said. I want to know where he said, why he said it. I think that brings that just makes us all gossips, and it brings us no joy. In fact, it brings a lot more harm, not to the people primarily involved in this, but to their families. I've had the opportunity in certain professional settings to interact with Professor Faisal, and he's always been nothing but a kind gentleman. It's very painful to see this happen, and really, my thoughts are really to him and his family. And because of that, I think I don't know. I don't think there should be a very clear balance struck between what people think is really transparency and what is, and what is their judgment. Their judgment is both PM Wong and Prof. Faisal. They have both judged Prof. Faisal's actions to be warranted, that he should leave office, and that's where we're at.
So just quick points. So the two individuals brought up, those very, very clear what they did, even before going into the details. And mind you, there were details sploshed all over the internet, but we won't go into that.
those were rumors. Those were not. I mean, those were not
Yeah.
official communication coming
No,
out from.
yeah,
you
but
know.
we were very clear. Like in
Right.
the previous speakers, there were two individuals. Okay, I mean, you don't need to say you know what happened.
Yeah.
In the one before that with Michael Palmer, there was also two individuals. So you don't need to go beyond that. So here we know that these two individuals, but they had no relationship. And the difference between them and here is the lack of what actually is going on. We don't. Nobody wants to know the sordid details. Nobody wants to become.
No. I think there are a lot of
You do,
gossipy
right? Okay, yeah.
the
I
dirty
know
details.
the Chinese papers are probably already hard at work right now. Professionally, and as for the rest of the electorate, all we need to know was, is he actually in the clear? And actually, I think many of us who have interacted with him actually are secretly rooting for him to be in. Maybe there's something here that was probably a misunderstanding, So and one other thing is that if we set these bars too high, who would be so ready to stand up to be a politician in the future? This is one of the thoughts that that the internet is saying.
Well, again, I'll go back to the point where, I mean, if we look at some of the tributes that have been paid to Prof. Faisal online, and these are not from political officials, these are just from normal people, right? In the same way that they sort of trusted him and also know him to be fundamentally a decent man, I think they should also trust his judgment that what he did was, in his opinion, not up to the standard expected of a minister, and give him the grace to leave with some privacy as well. And I think in that sense, we will both disagree on the level of transparency that's ultimately warranted from Bisla. There are some commentators online who have a very, very sort of a mean gossip streak to them, whereby, I mean, there's one commentator who should know a lot better, questioning, if the PM office is referring this matter to the police, must be very, very, very serious. I said, well, no, if both sides say each other was harassing them, you cannot be the arbiter. You have to give it to a trusted third party who's got no skin in the game and say, you decide, you tell me if something is amiss and something has to be done. And that's what the police do. It's like anytime I can go and say, you harass me, then there's nothing special about being referred to the police.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Hence, you need a judge also.
I guess that's where we're at. When we were talking about the other incidences of infidelity, it wasn't easy for you because some of the principal players on a social level, right? And in a sense, I also do know Prof. Faisal on a social setting. And I always say that, one of the nastiest things about politics is that you are only known by your worst moments at times. And because of that, I wanted to say a few things to remind people of what Prof. Faisal has done. He introduced amendments to the Misuse of Drug Act in Parliament. He was a very big champion of anti-drug policies in Singapore. I think he led very well the Dada Itu Haram program to try and reduce drug use in the MM community. Yellow Ribbon. He also really was quite a strong champion for the Fresh Start housing scheme, which allowed people who had a second-time families with children staying in public rental flats to actually gain a foothold back in the property market by getting their own flats. As MM Minister, he did a lot to, I think, to further the link between the government and the MM community. And let's not forget things like, for example, the repatriation flights from Saudi at the start of the Iran war. I did also want to just read out some things that have been up on the internet. Pardon me if I use your usernames, okay, but this is on Threads. Money Mark Chick said, have you ever seen someone who resigned due to mistakes made, and yet the vast majority of the community and party members continue to speak highly of him? There's a user called Danny Ng Dan. Is it? From what I've seen, many people describe Faisal Ibrahim as approachable, humble, and someone who focuses on serving residents instead of chasing headlines. Nur Afizal said, it is unfortunate and sad that he had to resign. Prof. Faisal was one of the most likable members of parliament who was humble and well respected. So I think let's let that be what we take away from this. Did you have any parting words for us?
I think it's an interesting learning moment for all of us. Yeah. The PAP is holding itself to exceptionally high standards. I don't know how this will work out. Would it be good? It would attract a certain type of people. It would attract the type of people who would have, a monkish life, who have really done absolutely no wrong. I don't know. I think this kind of people are either going to be very boring or highly technical. But the future remains to be seen. These are very high standards to adhere to.
And painful standards, but it's any decision that doesn't come with any trade-offs is an easy decision to make. I'm from the filmmaking world, so when we write scripts, we always say that true measure of a character is what the choices they make under pressure, under extreme pressure, when many things are at stake. The stakes are high, and this is as high as stakes as you ever get, and they made this decision. So that maybe tells you where they rank this level of behavior at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining me on a call, just a very last-minute call in order to add this to our next episode. And I guess we'll see you at episode 18.
I just hope we won't have to rush for another call anytime, soon this week.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not. We all have work to do. All right. Well, thanks a lot and good night. See you soon.
Very well.